Well, we welcome you all back to the Euroformula Open Championship. We are on round 7. We're on race 3 of round 7, the final race to close out the home weekend of the Euroformula Open Series, 4.657 kilometres in length. We're going to undertake 17 laps, 30 minutes max here at Montemelo in Spain. And the championship still, while alive and kicking, Timic Kaharczyk made quite the impact already coming into the weekend with the first place earlier on, but still plenty of racing to be had with another 4 races to go until the end of the season. Now the rain has dissipated a bit since this morning. The air temperature still remains at around 25 degrees at the moment as the cars now stand on the grid. And it's Theo Macoris who will be starting from pole position for Nielsen Racing, who as a team celebrated their second win as a team this season after Ed Pearson scooped up race 2 earlier on this morning. Everett Stack will be joining Theo Macoris on the front row as well, alongside the Cypriot, the man from the States who took his first win in the Euroformula Open back at Red Bull Ring last time. And that was to end the Austrian round as well. And all smiles on the face of Everett Stack as he looks ahead to this next race of action. We have Jose Garfias featuring on the second row, the Mexican, on his return to the series once again. Obviously still a mystery as to what he has planned for next year, but his options are still wide open. As we move back then to Diego Della Torre, fellow countryman of Jose Garfias, lining up in 4th place, second row of the grid. We'll be hoping not to get any more jump starts here and now as he gets some final instructions issued to him. And here is your 5 times race winner this season, Timic Kaharczyk, championship leader, and looking to once again levy more points in his favour before heading to the Temple of Speed. Yevon David will line up alongside him, sharing the 3rd row of the grid alongside his title challenger, title competitor Timic Kaharczyk. Of course, Yevon David looking to rediscover that absolute best form that he experienced right at the start of the season, where he was a 3-time running race winner here in the series. Fernando Barrichello, who was very strong earlier on today, also finishing in the podium spots as well. He'll be joining Yevon David on his route to FIA Formula 3 next year. And our race winner from before, Ed Pearson, taking his 2nd win. And after 17 races, not being able to capture a 2nd one, he finally did it. And now the momentum in his favour. Can he convert that confidence here once again here in race 3? And Michael Shin, who had a difficult qualifying, he had a difficult race 1, meaning that he starts both reserve races from the rear end of the grid. He is joined also by Enzo Ye, who starts in P10, does the man from Taiwan. Of course, representing BVM Racing, who have 3 cars here this weekend. Alessandro Famolaro, also from BVM, will be starting from the back of the grid in 11th place. And the Venezuelan, hoping for a decent getaway, was joined by Enzo Fittipaldi last time out when we went to Red Bull Ring. Of course, imparting some wisdom to the young man. And we're all set now with 11 cars that will line up. George Morgan here in the commentary box, joining me once again. We'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, we have highlights of race 1, and it was a great start for Timic Kaharczyk. Got away well. Yevon David got a little bit swarmed up towards turn 1. It would be, though, a collision between Michael Shin and Everett Stack that would lead to Shin being out of the race after losing that rear rubber off the tyre. Also spilling off would be Diego Della Torre onto the gravel on the outset of the final corner at turn 14. Jose Garfias also went off as well. Nothing stopping Timic Kaharczyk. He continued his route at the top of the championship ahead of Yevon David, who brought it back to within a second towards the closing stages with Barrichello in 3rd. And race 2 got underway. It was a brilliant start from Ed Pearson, who shot through from the 2nd row, managing to take the lead of the race eventually after he had to get past Fernando Barrichello. The Brazilian was swept by the Brit, who was in pursuit of his 2nd race win of the season. Yevon David, alongside his fellow Motorpark team counterpart, the Sri Lankan Lion, moving around the outside and through past Fernando Barrichello into 2nd place. He would eventually try and challenge, but no stopping Ed Pearson, who would go on to take an emotional 2nd race win and leading Nielsen to also their 2nd win of the season. Here's how the Drivers' Championship now looks. Timic Kaharczyk has broken 300. He's on 315 now, 32 points clear of Yevon David, who overtakes Michael Shin in the championship. There is only 10 points between those two. Jose Garfias in 4th with Ed Pearson in 5th. So we're about to hit race time here for the final time this weekend here at Barcelona. Here is how the grid looks. Theo McCorris for Nielsen Racing lining up alongside Everett Stack from Team Motor Park. Jose Garcia starting on the second row alongside Diego de la Torre, an all-Mexican, row 2. Timek Archik in P5 alongside Yevon David, the 2 championship contenders, ahead of Fernando Barrichello in P7 and Ed Pearson, already a race winner this weekend. Michael Shin in 9th alongside Rui Heng-Ye, also known as Enzo Ye, with Alessandro Famolaro in 11th place on his own on row 6. So the engine's now rev, the Dallara 324s are ready to go. Nielsen on pole, and it's Motor Park also sharing the front row as well in P2 with Everett Stack. George Morgan in the commentary box, as I said before, and this time we welcome Ewan Dunlop.
I've been eagerly waiting to say hello. Thank you so much, Sean. Looking forward. This will be a cracker. This will be absolutely fantastic. Always are in Euroformula. Despite just 11 cars on the track, they never, ever fail to entertain. One to watch for me today, this afternoon, Fernando Barrichello. He is going for his 5th consecutive podium, the longest streak of anybody on the grid. You wouldn't have thought that at the start of the season, didn't go off too well. But since the second race at Paul Ricard, he has been a different driver.
Yeah, definitely has been. It's definitely been a turnaround on his part. We'll wait and see whether it can continue. But obviously, Paul Ricard offering plenty here for Timek Archik and has allowed him to continue on a rich vein of form. It's not featured off the podium at all between Paul Ricard race 1 through to race 1 at Barcelona. It came to a grinding halt, though, in race 2. But never mind. It was still P4, which is enough to give him some well, a wealthy load of points to continue his run at the top of the championship. Of course, Michael Shin now displaced as Yevon David moves up to 2nd in the championship as well. Great chance for the Sri Lankan Lion. But Theo McCorris will be leading them on the formation lap. The Cypriot, who 19-year-old, born in Bedfordshire in the United Kingdom, but has competed at the top end in radicals, becoming a champion in that. Also firing at the top of the shop in various other series. Recently been taking part in the European Le Mans side of things, but now sees fit to move back into single-seater racing. And we welcome him with open arms. A fantastic talent, Theo McCorris. Was first in the Ligier European Series, the JSP4s, with a first place in the championship after 11 races, taking 3 wins, 3 poles, and 9 podiums. What do you make of our grid as they make their way down through towards turn 1 here?
I love the reverse grid qualifying. So earlier on this week, or on Saturday morning, of course, I think it's fantastic. I would love to see it in more. Imagine seeing reverse grid in Formula 1. That would be incredible, wouldn't it?
There have been many discussions about the formats of Formula 1 as of late, so you never know what you might get. Of course, we see it all the time in FIA Formula 2 and FIA Formula 3. And the beauty of the Euroformula Open Championship is it does build these drivers up to prepare them ahead of the FIA Formula 3 series. And also at the same time, F2 as well in the long run in a bid to create future Formula 1 stars. And of course, we've had many come through this series, the likes of Yuki Tsunoda, Liam Lawson, all competing at the highest end of the roster. And of course, Felipe Drugovich, a reserve driver, currently for Aston Martin as well.
The thing you find with the reverse grid is, by the end of the season, you do get the best driver, because they've not just led every single race from pole, they've had to come through the field multiple times to be a consecutive winner and a champion.
Same can be said for our current championship leaders. Of course, Timek Archik, Yevon David sharing the same row on row 3. And it means they have to get past Diego de la Torre, Jose Garcia, Everett Stack and Theo McCorris if they want to win this one. Of course, if Archik wins this, it's definitely an advantage to the pole come the end of this one. Yevon David will be hoping for a really big race here to tee up 3 final races at Monza at the Temple of Speed. A mouth-watering title battle. As now the safety car takes them around once again. And obviously starting under the safety car conditions here at Barcelona as they make their way down through towards turn 1. And obviously they will remain as they are right now. Theo McCorris still continuing onwards, but all roads lead to green flags when they are going to be applied. Of course, we've had a full weekend of slick tyre running. Michael Shin in the pits, and he's had a full plague of issues recently. Oh, slick tyres.
Wow.
That's a bold call by Motor Park.
However, he needs to do something special. Michael Shin has got to roll the dice in this race. That is what he's doing.
Now, is that an indicator that the rain has stopped all of a sudden? I do wonder that.
It's been raining for about 20 minutes. That part of the track looks completely dry, doesn't it?
Well, what do you do now in this situation? The safety car is in this lap. Do you continue on these tyres? Do you suddenly decide to come in and change? That's the big question. If they all do, then you'd figure that Michael Shin will have the benefits of closing up to the back of the safety car. Of course, that's going to be his mission now, to try and get as close as he can. Obviously, there's still a high degree of spray coming off the back of Michael Shin's Stellara 324.
I mean, he's a guinea pig right now. Every single garage is watching how he performs on those things. There's a little bit of slide already. This is not looking fantastic.
It's a bold call, bold strategy here from Michael Shin. Of course, he's had a really hard weekend. This time, quali did not go to plan. And of course, the races haven't necessarily gone to plan either. Needs a dramatic turnaround here in race 3 if he wants to cause a stir. But at the moment, you've got a series of cars embracing the wet compound of tyre, because we had rainfall coming down just before the just after the International GT Open broadcast and the race, and now, of course, just before the Euroformula broadcast. But it seems to have petered out here, but the safety car will be in this lap, so it'll all come down to Theo McCorris to get us started. Everett Stack, of course, looking to get a big jump as well. Of course, watch out for Garfius and Della Torre, but Kaharchik and David being your championship leaders, the ones to watch, as now they climb the hill through towards the right-hander. We'll very soon get underway.
And this stalling tactic is allowing Michael Shin to catch up. You can see him in the background there. He was about 5 turns behind. This is going to play into his hands, because if this continues to dry out midway through this race, he could be on a different planet on those tyres.
Well, that is definitely one way of looking at it. And I must say, if you are the rest of the drivers on this grid, you've surely got to just carry on, haven't you, with the wet tyre? I mean, there's no benefit now. I mean, Michael Shin is right on the tail of the group. You can just see him warming them up.
He can't wait for this, can he?
No, I think he's keen to get this underway, and he's going to be a lot quicker on the slick tyre than anyone else on those wet tyres. Of course, dry tyres for Michael Shin, wet tyres for everybody else. But how is his braking going to be in comparison to everyone else in the corners? And the spray continues, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go. Go, 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 go. Great start for Theo McCorris. Also further back, Everett Stack lining up well as well, trying to break out of the spray. In comes Garfius as well as Diego Della Torre. In comes Timek Kaharchik as well, going around the outside, going wheel to wheel here now with one of the motorpark cars. He peels on through. Kaharchik gets one done, and it looks like it was Diego Della Torre. And in comes as well Fernando Barrichello. Yevon David ahead at the moment of Ed Pearson right now as well, who also got a great start. We've now seen them dicing out, heading down through towards the next right-hander. Here comes Kaharchik again, up the inside, looking to swiftly move past now Jose Garfius. He's done so. David now on the rear this time of Diego Della Torre. Garfius there as well. Pearson still remains behind Yevon David as they now creep down through towards turn 5. Kaharchik around the outside, now trying Garfius again. Garfius saying no, so Kaharchik retaining his place in P4, and now also entering the fold again is Diego Della Torre. They swiftly move together, coming up through towards the next left-hander. Kaharchik around the outside. Surely he's going to go onto the gravel. We're running on board with him now. He's having to take some of it. He's off onto the gravel, skipping over the curbs, back onto the track. Through goes Yevon David and Diego Della Torre. That is a huge loss for Kaharchik.
Look at Mercurius go, already built a 1.1 second lead over the field. This is, now you can see Michael Shin at the background looking to find some grip, and he's just trying to warm those tyres up, because at the moment he is tiptoeing round at the back. But this could be an absolutely genius move come the end of this race.
Well, here comes Kaharchik again, looking to take the place back from fellow title rival Yevon David. Now these two are going wheel to wheel at the close of the Barcelona round once again. Inside line here for Kaharchik, back through past Yevon David this time. The Sri Lankan had no answer. Oh, onto the gravel goes Everett Stack. My goodness me, Stack has gone off, and that's allowed Garfius now to move into second place, and it's McCorris who's been given a 3.2 second advantage. As a result, he's in clear air, and we've got wheel-to-wheel action further back again. In comes Yevon David this time on an attack of the front group, and now Everett Stack at the mercy of him this time too, as they come through out of turn 1, through turn 2. Stack now trying to keep the position. David, though, hassling him every which way as they now stretch through turn 3, this time on the outbreak of turn 2, and they're changing tyres now with Alessandro Famolaro, and it looks like they're moving on to slicks as well, so some big question marks over who's on the right tyre strategy. Right now, I'd say if you're on the wet, you've got more grip.
100%, and this is a 17-lap race, so we shall see as things progress, but everything falling into the hands of Theo Mercouris, his first ever weekend in the Euroformula. Could he have a win in race number 3?
Well, Mercouris, of course, debuting here for the Nielsen Racing team. I mean, they have not had before 2 wins in one weekend of Nielsen. This could be a huge moment, and with Theo Mercouris' first round as well in the Euroformula Open Championship, what an opportunity. And you can see the blanket of grey in the distance as we ride on board here now with the BVM of Timek Kaharczyk as we ride over the crest, coming down through turn 9 and through towards turn 10. Currently locked in P6, 3/10 away from Yevon David at the moment. It's wheel to wheel now. Michael Shin's tyres coming alive now, and he moved past Enzo, so that's P9 now in Michael Shin's pocket, and it's wheel to wheel elsewhere, further up the road as well. This is what looks to be Della Torre and Everett Stack, and it looks like Stack has lost out, and Diego Della Torre is now retaining P3.
Yeah, and David just ahead of Timek Kaharczyk. That's what he wants to stay the entire race too. Plenty of points to bridge the gap. It's over 25, which psychologically, going into Monza, it's a full race win with your opponent not even finishing. So, yes, Yevon David has to finish ahead of Timek Kaharczyk, you think, in this race to give him any sort of chance whatsoever. Absolutely, the championship is not over until the final race, race 3 in Monza.
Pearson has managed to get, well, he hasn't managed to. Shin has managed to get ahead of Ed Pearson as now it's very nearly side-by-side between Diego Della Torre and Everett Stack again. Yevon David now has tailed off slightly. The rear end just slipping out from underneath the Sri Lankan Lions car as now Pearson looks to come straight back at Michael Shin, and up the inside he will go. Just not quite enough grip on those slick tyres just yet in that first sector there for Michael Shin to withstand the pressure here from Pearson. But now as they come through now what looks to be a dry portion of track, around the outside comes Michael Shin and back past Pearson once again.
On those slick tyres, and maybe another one coming as well. Fernando Barrichello does them on the outside. Oh, here we go, Michael Shin on the slicks. The track is drying up, it's all falling into his hands, and another! Timek Kaharczyk, no, keeps on the outside, but it's coming, it's all coming for Michael Shin. Bit of a slip from the rear.
Well, he needed to try something different, Michael Shin. He now is, though, up for grabs from Barrichello, but I don't think Barrichello's got enough momentum to make the move back in return. Still 13 laps to take us through to the checkered flag as now through past goes Michael Shin, so he does find the leverage. Brilliant effort from the Korean. And now heading down in towards turn 10. We now see more side-by-side action further up with Everett Stack and Diego Della Torre once more. Barrichello now very nearly going side-by-side with Timek Kaharczyk on the road up towards turn 10. This is not the race that Kaharczyk envisioned, I don't think.
Absolutely not. It seems to be going backwards, but that is because Michael Shin is going fast forward so quickly. And Barrichello, as we mentioned at the start, is the car on form. Oh, they slide over, not just missing the gravel on the left-hand side of the start-finish straight. And look at that spray still. So going through the water to maybe keep the car cool, a little bit cooler as well. But Michael Shin now is ahead of, well, let's have a quick look here. All the spray demanding, he's got past Yevon David. Michael Shin past Yevon David into 5th place.
He's gaining place, his hand over fist at the moment. Michael Shin might have really made a bold, brave call on those slick tyres, but it might pay off. And now going wide is Diego Della Torre. So now through, by the looks of it, goes Everett Stack. He goes back into 3rd. And now closing up on the back of Jose Garfias now. Michael Shin already on the tail of Diego Della Torre after he went wide. As now we watch them come side by side again. And here comes Michael Shin looking to make another place on the Pirelli tyres, the slick ones. And now the long way around as he looks to use every ounce of circuit. Diego Della Torre pressuring him outwards. He did the same thing to Ed Pearson in the early stages of the weekend, as well as we made our way through race 1. As now we have another look here, this time from Shin, as they creep uphill through towards Kamsa at turn 9.
I mean, if it rains again, he's in serious trouble, but this is great fun to watch.
I will add, it's still grey out there at the moment, but Shin getting a lovely run now, coming down through towards turn 10. Again, he's going to have more grip, you'd think, heading into the heavy braking zone at Lakea, but Diego Della Torre keen to meet him at which way, but surely the acceleration working on parts here of Michael Shin and his wheel-to-wheel between Garfias and Stack once more, and it looks like Garfias has held on. Shin has moved up as well at the same time, so Diego Della Torre dropping down to 5th. Shin now on the cusp of the podium places as they now climb downhill, and he flies past Everett Stack in grand style.
And with the start-finish straight, 1 kilometre full straight on the crest now. A bit of a slide out too from Jose Garfias. So now Look at this, Michael Shin will move into second place on the inside down the start finish towards El's turn 1. Just past Jose Garfias in the 99, takes him on the inside. This is incredible.
Great decision to move on to the slicks, it seems. It's moved him into second place. Now, how much of a hole can he put into this gap between himself and Theo Macoris? As now Garfias drops down to third. My goodness, though, it looks like that Garfias might have the better line coming through turn 3. I don't think it's going to be enough, though, to challenge back against the force of Michael Shin on those dry tyres. But as they now come down through towards turn 4, this has been an extraordinary race so far. Obviously, the decision-making over strategy, and that right there is an illustration of how the track is right now. Clearly drier in more places than wet, and Shin is capitalising.
Whoever's made that decision, whether it's Michael Shin or their team manager, give that person the trophy, whichever colour it is this time. So the time between the top two is now 5.4 seconds, Theo Macoris to Michael Shin. We're going to anticipate that coming down. There are still 11 laps remaining. I feel like we've had a full race in 6 laps already.
Yeah, obviously we've got 11 laps still to go. Shin's got plenty of time to nestle that gap down. I can tell you that he was faster than Macoris. Yeah, I mean, he was faster than Macoris over the last lap by 1.6 seconds. So that just goes to show how much he is closing by. And bear in mind, that wasn't in clear air either. That was when he was trying to overtake to get into second in the first place. So watch out for Michael Shin, everybody. I would imagine over the next lap or so, he'll be on the tail of Theo Macoris and challenging for the race lead and the race win, obviously by extension, obviously once we get through the 11 laps. And look at this, he's already on the tail, so now might already get a chance to do it. Didn't even need another lap. Here comes Shin, now looking to close up. Theo Macoris looks in his mirrors. Nielsen Racing, who are looking to challenge for a second win this weekend, making it 3 in total. Shin around the outside on the fresh, dry tyres, and in now, drying conditions. Michael Shin sweeps through around the outside after 2 really difficult races. He turns it around for race 3. It's Shin in P1 here at Barcelona.
He has had a terrible, terrible weekend, from qualifying on Saturday morning to a couple of poor races. About 11th and 7th is so far. He's going to end the weekend with an absolute blinder. He could go and win this now by 10, 20 seconds if he holds on.
Yeah, Alessandro Famolaro also making the same decision to go onto the slick tyres. He's currently 6.2 seconds behind Rui Hangye at the moment, as now Everett Stack squirms all over the back of Garfias, who's already moved up back into third. So we've got quite the mishmash here. Car 9 taking on 99 as they come up through towards Firth Curve, but Garfias able to manage the pace at the moment and remains in that third place right now. Stack now down in fourth as they sweep through over Campster Corner. The man from the States obviously just trying to manage it right now, trying to squeeze his way back through past the Mexican. Famolaro has got past Enzo Yer as well up into 10th, so that goes to show that the dry tyres are continuously working here, and the Venezuelan could yet join the party.
Now, would it be absolute insanity for a team that is struggling at the back now to make the same decision to go on to wets? Because look how much quicker, within half a lap, Michael Shin has put 5 seconds on Theo Macoris. That is effectively a 10-second lap. So with 9 laps to go, oh, he's in as well. Rui Hangye, that looks like a retirement, though. That is not for a tyre change.
Yeah, it looks
like it was race over.
Now that might have made the difference, honestly, coming in.
If Michael Shin is making up 10 seconds a lap on those with wet, with 9 laps to go, that's 90 seconds. What do you lose in a pit stop? 30 seconds or so? And
look at this, Yevon David.
100% the right decision.
Yevon David coming into the pits, and now are they going to go for the dry tyres?
They've got to. They've absolutely got to. Because they've got nothing to lose as well. With Timur Kaharczyk, they need to do something incredible.
And obviously
this would be bizarre. Just imagine.
They're doing this to try and counteract, obviously, Kaharczyk's position at the moment. Obviously, coming in, Yevon David's thinking about the championship in this situation. Obviously, Michael Shin now, as a result of his decision-making, moving up into the lead of the race. This throws him, obviously, further up in the points standard of things. Obviously, while this situation unfolds, remember, of course, Yevon David's last race, capitalising, pushing him ahead of Michael Shin in the championship standings. Michael Shin now could perfectly respond now with a race win here, but altogether this could constrain the championship down, and there's a car crashed on the pit entry.
Oh, there is. Oh, who is that?
And that looks like a motor park car, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 44.
Now that's Diego Della Torre. So Diego Della Torre has crashed in the pit lane. on the pit entry.
So this could even play better into Jevon David. Like, if nobody else can come into the pit lane,
Yeah,
or
that
maybe they
car's not
can
going
squeeze
anywhere.
past.
Yep. That is a despondent Diego Della Torre. Now this means that they can't surely allow cars to come into the pits.
Absolutely. So Jevon David here, as long as he's made a pit stop quicker than about 60 seconds, he could make up 30 seconds over the last 9 laps.
So this means that if Timic Harjic wants to come in for slick tyres, he can't. So this is a stunning set of affairs. Theo Macoris remains in second at the moment. Garfius now under pressure from Everett Stack once more.
Jevon David is 1 minute 20 down. He could still pull back 90 seconds over these last, 8 laps now. This is going to be the finest of margins.
Well,
this is an 8-lap chase now.
Regardless, Fernando Barrichello has come through, so he's taken the pit lane, so they haven't closed it. It is still working at the moment, so...
See, by my math, this is too late now. You had to do it with a maximum 9 laps to go, because it's...
Well, they should have done it under the safety car, Ewan. I mean, that's the only way they should have done it. I mean, that's what Michael Shin did, hence why he's had this opportunity. Now they're coming in with Fernando Barrichello undertaking the pit stop. They need to do this really quickly now at Motor Park.
Yeah, I think this is too late.
Yeah, well, they're going to lose time in the process, but they got no choice. They need to do something to at least beat the BBM team, and that's got to be the mission. Obviously, to take points off Timic Harjic, and that's exactly the plan, I think. There is Timic right now, making his way down through towards the next left-hander. Of course, currently sat in P5 right now, and Fernando Barrichello now rejoining the action out on track. We don't usually undertake pit stops mid-race through the course of the Euroformula Open Championship, so credit to the team for doing it as quick as they did.
Now, when Jevon David came out, he was 1 minute behind P2. We're going to ignore Michael Shin. He's 24 seconds clear now. He could even become he's going to come up to back markers, because he's that quick at the minute.
Yeah, no, we'll see how this unfolds now. At the moment, Michael Shin now in charge. He's leading by 24.3 seconds ahead of Theo Macoris. That is the difference between the dry and the wet tyre at the moment. Obviously, we're just waiting to see whether more cars come in or out. Jevon David's rejoined the action. Familaro, after boxing earlier, is now ahead of Jevon David at this point. And, of course, Familaro on the slick tyres at the same time. He boxed way earlier than the others. But, of course, after Michael Shin, who did his under the safety car. But Jose Garfius now making his way down through towards turn 1. It looks like Everett Stack has already got past him as well for P3. So that's a change for the podium places. Garfius now uprooted and down into 4th. And we'll take a look here. Oh my goodness, now that's Fernando Barrichello and meeting Ed Pearson on the run down towards the final corner. So I'm wondering, now that's on the wet tyres, so maybe that's why he came in. Obviously perhaps an issue with the tyres, decided to come in. I thought it was a little bit late for him to stop.
Yeah, the gamble has to be made. So if you're gaining 10 seconds a lap, and it's with the slower changeovers than you'd see in any sort of the Formula field, you've got to do it with at least sort of 9 laps to go. That was my mathematics anyway. So Jevon David was right on the cusp of that.
Yeah, well, Michael Shin at the moment running his own race out there right now. Purple in the middle sector again on this lap. It is fastest lap of 1:41.075. Now, if that doesn't tell you the story about the track conditions at the moment, apparently the crash car is going to stay there in the pit lane until the end of the race, like on pit entry, I should say. So the drivers are now aware of it. I'm sure that it's been communicated by their team engineers, just in case any more pit stops are made, and of course for entrance to Parc Fermé. But Michael Shin now 33.8 ahead of Theo Macoris. Remember, that was only around 25 laps ago. You know, mere laps ago, that was 25 seconds. It's now 33.8. Everett Stack now 2.4 back from Theo Macoris. But Familaro is the interesting one, and he's on the tail of Fernando Barrichello at the moment. Of course, Barrichello also on fresh, slick tyres, but is 39 seconds down, I would imagine, after the moments with Ed Pearson, then coupled that with the pit stop that he had to undertake. And Jevon David well back as well. I mean, this is not great for Jevon David, because this is a huge amount of points now being sacrificed, while Michael Shin gains plenty, and Timic Harjic actually gaining some modest points in P5.
Well, currently, Jevon David is 2.537, 42 seconds behind Timic Harjic. 6 laps remaining, roughly, I'm saying roughly 10 seconds per lap. I think Jevon David will catch Timic Harjic on the last lap. That's my mathematics, and I'm no genius in that field.
Yeah, well, heading down now Through towards the left-hander, Everett Stack currently in third place, 1.5 back behind Theo McCorris. He'll be going the distance on the wet tyre, but they must be screaming at him right now. They're obviously looking for some damp patches somewhere out on circuit. Everett Stack still continuing as well on his wets.
So the last lap, Yevon David 141, Timothy Harchek 148, so 7 seconds per lap at the minute. He might not do it, but I think it was worth the gamble.
Well, you've got to try something. Obviously, they saw what Michael Shin was doing, and they obviously opted to do something similar. There is Yevon David closing up to the back of Famolaro. Alessandro Famolaro, who debuted back at Red Bull Ring and had Enzo Fittipaldi in his corner. He's on the tail of Fernando Barrichello at the moment, who is also on fresh, slick tyres, but fresher tyres than Famolaro's are right now. So you take the sweep uphill through towards the Firth curve and then through towards Campster at the top of the hill. They can take that certainly immensely quicker than those on the wet tyres, and they are cruising up to the back of Enzo Yair, who is well behind and has just stopped on track to allow them through. And Yevon David also being allowed past as well at the same time as they venture downwards through towards the heavy braking zone, as they now come through the next left-hander at turn 10. Still at the moment, Michael Shin, fastest lap. Not only will it be 25 points for the win, but 1 point for the fastest lap should he bring it home.
And with his title rivals currently in 5th and 9th position, that'll be a double win for him too. I mean, it's quite a gap to bridge at the minute. What was it, 36 points? But he's going to bring it down by about 20 at the minute.
Yeah.
And if he goes on and has a good Monza weekend, we could look back at race 3 at Barcelona and say that is where it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was
one decision.
That one decision to box onto the slick tyres under the safety car, which, to be honest with you, if you were going to do it, that's the time to do it. I mean, you have to gamble. That's exactly what Michael Shin did, and it's paid off. When we talk about stacking chips to the centre of the table, that's exactly what Michael Shin did coming into the start of this race. He had nothing to lose. He was in P8 at the time. Obviously, if he wanted to get some extra points to try and counteract Yevon David and Timothy Harchik, that's what he needed to do, and that's exactly what he did do. As Enzo Yair comes into the pits as well, 4 laps down at the moment on the wet tyres. There was no way that those were going to benefit him towards the end, but equally, you know, just not enough grip, and you have to wonder whether this will be a retirement wholeheartedly, because there is no point changing onto slick tyres with 4 laps to go.
No, that's going to be race over, most certainly, for Enzo Yair. Now, it's troubling how long it's taking Yevon David to get past Famolaro and Barrichello here. I thought he would have absolutely swept past these guys, but it's not happened. They are gaining ground on those in front. So, I mean, 4 laps to go. This is clearly Michael Shin by an absolute genius stroke.
53.1 seconds ahead. We're talking nearly a whole minute now.
Incredible.
Unbelievable display from Michael Shin. 53.1 ahead of McCorris as they now fly down through towards turn 1. We've got Fernando Barrichello leading this trio of cars down through towards turn 1 here this time to commence their next lap. Of course, fastest lap still in the hands of Michael Shin right now as Famolaro just sort of weaves in and out of the aero.
Of course, all 3 of these cars are on slicks now. They all made the pits, so they'll be working as a team, moving together
so Yevon David not reaping the benefits of the pit stop regardless, because Famolaro boxed earlier, and of course Barrichello, who managed to box under his compound, of course he boxed a little bit later than Famolaro, but regardless made it work.
And they've still got to find 14 seconds to catch Ed Pearson.
You never know, obviously, at this point. You know, the wet tyres they started with may have just worn down to become slicks anyway, if you're Ed Pearson right now in P6. But, and incidentally, Ed Pearson putting in a personal best in Sector 1 right now, and there is Ed Pearson, of course, race winner from earlier on today, granting himself a 2nd win of the season and a 2nd one for Nielsen as well. But unfortunately for Nielsen, whilst they had hopes of Theo McCorris taking his 1st and also Nielsen's 3rd, and their 2nd, well, their 1st wins back-to-back, because they haven't had a back-to-back before, it would have certainly made quite the splash here at Barcelona. But Ed Pearson now flying downhill, 6 seconds behind Timothy Harchik.
Michael Shin's just done a 1:39.847. He's getting quicker.
Yeah, well, she's just done a purple middle sector, and his last lap was also a flying lap as well, his fastest lap of the session. And, of course, the race now apparently ending by time. We will be ending under the clock, everybody. 2 minutes to take us to the finish line. And it's Michael Shin who leads them through, and he's beyond a minute clear of Theo Macoris now. And I think he's going to look to thunder in another fast lap once again, as now they come through turn one again. We rejoin this three-way dance over P7, where Barrichello has pretty much commanded that P7 position. They're all on the same tyres, so no benefits to any of these drivers at the moment. They're all feeling the same effects as they come through the next sequence of corners. And it doesn't look like they're getting any closer to Ed Pearson. They certainly won't do in the next minute and 20, as Yevon David posts the fastest first sector with a 31.6. It's just been ripped away by Michael Shin, though. And
I think there's going to be 2 more laps, because by the time Michael Shin crosses the start-finish line, we won't have rolled over the minute 7 seconds. So a little bit more of an opportunity, but it's a little bit too late. I think it was worth the gamble by the likes of Yevon David and Fernando Barrichello. But we shall see. Everett Stack, though, looking to get his 4th podium of the season. As for Theo Macoris, 2nd place in his opening weekend. What a result that is.
Yeah, he will stand on the podium if it stays like this. It was the young Brit Cypriot, who was born in Bedford. And now storming down through towards turn 1. Was 19 years of age, or 22. I think coming into this round with Nielsen, he is 19 years of age. Numerous karting successes, 8 junior titles between 2016 and 2020. A radical champion, also champion in the Ligier European Series as well. But Everett Stack also commanding a podium finish at the same time. Of course, the young American following in the footsteps of Colton Herter. And Brad Benavides becoming a race winner, an American race winner in the Euroformula Open Championship. Jack Crawford as well, as he comes through the next right-hander with the 99 of Jose Garfias in hot pursuit. But Garfias, I think, a little bit too far away to land a blow. Regardless, we're on the final lap, and it's all down to Michael Shin, who now looks to make his way through the next sequence of right-handers. He's in the first sector for the final time here at Barcelona this weekend. And now coming in towards turn 4, a massive decision to move on to the softs when the rain was still essentially, by and large, there and present. Made the call to come in to move on to the slick tyres, and it was a smart call, and he could yet dominate the ending of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Call of the weekend across all championships across Barcelona, 2 days here. Absolutely brilliant. It was, as we said, he had to throw the dice, put all the chips on the table. He did that and his team, and it has worked, not just worked well, it has worked like an absolute dream. He has absolutely stormed this field. He's going to win by well over a minute. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, of course, has already taken 3 race wins this season. It all started at Hockenheim in race 1. He went through a blanket of podiums through the course of that weekend too. Much like Portimao, only there was no win there. He had his chance. Hungaroring in race 2, he was a victor. Also race 1 as well, and he also took 2nd after that. But now to make it number 4 in terms of race wins and thrust himself back in the mixer ahead of Yevon David in the championship. It's Michael Shin on top here at Barcelona. Genius in strategy, a massive call to change onto the slicks, but it paid off. Michael Shin wins race 3 here at Barcelona, and he's massively ahead by nearly an entire lap ahead of Theo Macoris. And Everett Stack finishing in 3rd place. Or does he? Because Garfias has just poked his nose into 3rd place this time. Stack now dropping down to 4th. And Barrichello also getting past Timo Kaharczyk. What on earth is going on?
Yeah, I'm just watching. It's all changing. Barrichello up to 5th place. Kaharczyk dropping down, which means Yevon David and Famularo could do the same. Hang on one moment. Oh!
Stack has dropped it, and he's got a flat tyre. That's a puncture. Unfortunately there for Everett Stack, so that's where the time has gone, and he is falling through the field, gifting Garfias that P3, and Barrichello ahead of Timo Kaharczyk as well, so more points lost by the pole. And this is a disaster.
And Yevon David's right behind him too. Here we go then.
Yeah, it looks like that it might be the case that now Yevon David might be able to attack Famularo coming down in towards turn 10, went late on the brakes, but it was cut off straight away by Famularo, who's looking to bring home some major points here as now they fly through.
Backwards.
And Kaharczyk, yeah, he still continues to drop. Obviously, remember, Yevon David overtook him earlier on, and now as they come through the final corners, surely Theo Macoris is going to come along and take 2nd place here at Barcelona. Jose Garfias, of course, will take third as well, in front of Fernando Barrichello, who finishes a gallant fourth across the line, just behind Garfias, and it will be Famularo finishing ahead of Yevon David, who comes across in sixth place. And there is Everett Stack's car, and isn't that a sorry sight from our race winner from Red Bull Ring, Michael Shin, recording his fourth win of the season after a very smart call to move on to the slick tyres under the safety car, and gives us a wave for good measure as well. The Korean sensation back again on the top step for the first time since, of course, Red Bull Ring Race 1. And we'll be joined by Theo Macoris for the first time on the podium, as well as Jose Garfias. A bizarre race. I mean, how do you calculate this one? I look forward to the highlights package later on. Michael Shin, your winner here at the end of race 3, ahead of Theo Macoris and Jose Garfias in third. Fernando Barrichello in fourth, Alessandro Famularo in fifth, Yevon David in sixth, Timothy Karchik down in seventh, Ed Pearson in eighth, Everett Stack out essentially by and large, not finishing, but one lap down on everybody else. Enzo retiring earlier on down in 10th place, and we lost Diego Della Torre after he crashed on the pit entry coming into the pits. So this is how the Drivers' Championship looks now. Timothy Karchik still with the championship lead, but it's been brought down to 23 points now between him and Michael Shin. Yevon David now drops down back into third and now features 7 points back from Michael Shin as well. In terms of the championship, it still looks like it's in Timek's hands right now, but bear in mind, as he crashes into the P1 board, Michael Shin still with every chance when we go to Monza. Obviously, probably feeling the effects of that immense strategy call coming to the back of the pits. He needs to try and debuckle himself. He's struggling to get out at the moment. Probably full of beans after making that really smart call. And now looking to lift himself aloft. Don't forget to put your steering wheel back in, Michael. And takes a bow. And indeed he should. That was expertly done. I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like that before in the Euroformula Open Championship. What a call from Michael Shin.
I mean, in the early days, it looked like a gamble. By the end, it looked like the obvious call to win it by, what, 1 minute 23 seconds. You might not see that again. And there is Everett Stack just climbing out of his car number 9. That is a long walk back to the pits there from turn number 10. In fact, he might be able to find a shortcut.
And Kai Degenhardt loved that as well. Like, if we talk about strategy calls, Kai, no question, would have given a grand golf clap. Would have cracked the champagne. That's Matthias Zagazzetta in the background as well. Of course, FIA Formula 3 driver. And Michael Shin getting some big hugs as well. We also saw what looked to be Jakob Bergmeister as well. There too. Just look at that wet tyre that has come in. Just look at how much tread has been sunk away from it here at this point. That is truly bizarre. That's the Brit, Theo Macoris, of course, Brit Cypriot. And that's another podium for Sven Thompson's team, who I'm sure is delighted with that too. Obviously, they're still learning in this championship at the moment, so watch out for Nielsen next season, and they'll get a greater understanding of the drivers that are available on the market as well. So keep your eyes on this team for next campaign as well, folks. And we do, of course, have a championship at the moment that is going to be growing heading into new season, with more teams rumoured to be getting involved. Obviously, more news as it comes. Matthias Zagazzetta coming across to give his congratulations to Michael Shin, and he said, good call. Let's listen. Oh, just a little bit late there, but we'll go through the top 3. Jose Garfias coming home in third ahead of Fernando Barrichello, but behind Theo Macoris, who would line up a podium for Nielsen Racing once again, but his first in this season's championship. But he finished behind after a great call by Michael Shin to lift himself aloft on the top step of the podium. It's victory number 4 for the man from Motor Park, thrusted back into the championship fold, and he's standing by with Alfredo.
Michael Shin, a win in race 3 in Barcelona, a good way to finish a difficult weekend.
Yeah, it was a really risky call from my side. On the outlap, the middle sector looked super dry, so I had it in the back of my head. I didn't do it on the grid, but I just decided I have nothing to lose. I have everything to learn and gain. Let's go for it. My team trusted me. I'm so thankful for them for that. And yeah, we were able to drive by everyone and finish in first place.
It was a bet. good bet, and you keep the fight alive for the last round in Monza.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy for that. But also, it was quite difficult in the opening first few laps because turn one and the last corner, like there were a couple corners that weren't fully dry yet, and it was very, very sketchy. So yeah, very happy to finish first and carry the championship fight into the last round.
Well, this one is one you will remember. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, strap yourselves in for this highlights package, folks. So, of course, we got started under the safety car for this one. And, of course, getting off the line, it would be Theo Macoris who would take them down through towards turn one. But eventually we did go green. And Theo Macoris took us down through towards turn one once again, this time under green racing conditions. And already, straight from the get-go, Timek Archik looked to make the early places, past Jose Garfias in the initial. Of course, eventually he would get caught up again in the mixer going through, and Diego Della Torre also becoming part of the action at the same time. Karchik eventually going off into the gravel. This pretty much put a stopper in the progression for Timek Karchik. He also lost out to Yevon David in the process. We also saw Everett Sack heading into the gravel at the same time. Karchik also ventured in there again, but it allowed Garfias to move past Stack and into the top three proper. Of course, Michael Shin made the brave call to move off the wet tyres and onto the slicks, and he started really moving his way through the field, taking on driver by driver, one by one, making the decision to box under the safety car prior to the start of the race, allowing him better grip under drying conditions, eventually positioning himself into the race lead after tackling Theo Macoris. Of course, that move would come eventually. In fact, it would come right here at this particular moment on the run down through towards turn one. Of course, the British Cypriot had no answer on his wet tyres. As the track started to dry, Shin then started to move, and he careered onwards to eventually grow a gap of over a minute long. He would cross the line, registering a fourth win of the season and thrusting himself back in the championship hunt. And now we move to the podium celebrations. It will be Jose Garfias on the third step of the podium, with Theo Macoris, who will stand tall second here in this case, and yet another Nielsen driver featuring on the podium here this time as well. They'll be absolutely delighted with that. Could have so easily been the win had the weather not gone Michael Shin's way, because if it rained again, Ewan, it would have been disaster.
It would have been. Now, the last thing I heard him say when he was having a chat with his team there was, I dreamt of this last night. Well, his dreams come true today. Fourth win of the season, sitting proudly on top. And that call, it was his decision.
His decision, and it takes a smart driver to make that call. You need to be decisive. And of course, the rookie winner, Yevon David, not familiar, a familiar scene to see him standing on that side of the podium. Usually on one of the podium steps. Now the national anthem. So the national anthem of Korea rings out across the grandstands of Barcelona. Michael Shin that call could be the most important call he's made through his single-seater career, and potentially placing him within the realms of winning a title. Mr. Santa Maria, the boss of the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, presenting the third place trophy to Jose Garfias, and also the man standing second, Theo Macoris, with a Euroformula Open trophy of his own as well. A day he will remember. Be excited to see what he decides to do for his future, whether he returns back to the Euroformula. Of course, we'll keep you posted. It's Michael Shin, presented by Mr. Santa Maria again. The winning trophy here at Barcelona. Yevon David will, of course, receive the winning rookie trophy by the Pirelli representatives. It's another one for Motor Park. At the same time, of course, they know what this means. We've got a massive title fight between BVM and Motor Park now, which is what everyone will be talking about, whether you are, of course, backing Michael Shin, whether you're backing Timek Karchik. Yevon David also potentially with an outside chance, so it's going to be tough. Of course, remember, we do have to drop drop points, but a group photo before we bring an end to today's broadcast. But folks, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us here this weekend. We will see you at Monza next month. Goodbye.